Okay, let's keep exploring these edges and go into boundary. The conditions, boundary conditions. Because it's really the boundaries that we're exploring. There are boundary conditions everywhere between the solid, the liquid, the gases, all moving and flowing, some hotter, some rougher, some softer, some harder, some actually fluid, more absorbent, darker, lighter, some as gases. All these are boundaries. Even society naturally divides itself into groups. Men, women, different cultures, different religions, and around those are edges. We need to have a skill that we develop at detecting the differences so we can see these boundaries. We need to be skilled at recognizing the conditions on boundaries. Boundary conditions form friction and diffusion of forces. Even social unrest happens around boundaries. There's lots of potential events around the boundary. This is the edge effect. The area of interest for potential change, because there's never a static boundary between two media. So there are basically just two types of boundary conditions. Particles flow along a boundary, or they flow across a boundary. When they flow along, it's a shear event. There are shear lines between the two different media. It's literally shearing the two boundary conditions, the two medias. Or you get local friction created by deflections and turbulence across a boundary. Now this is where we get the Coriolis effect, the spin effect in pattern form. And we presume the Coriolis effect is literally the tilt of the Earth on its axis. So the fact that it's out on its axis, we get a repeated 15 degrees effect of the Coriolis. So across a boundary, you will get a spinning effect. You'll actually get tree lines and harmonically it's best if it's a rounded shape, in that for one up there's three along, so we get a bit of a rounded shape. The shape of an aeroplane's wing is preferred, but as the wind comes over, we get an Ekman spiral bouncing. And this goes offline. So when we're looking down on a windbreak of trees, as the wind goes over and spirals, it bounces slightly offline, goes offline, some 15 degrees here, and the opposite way in the other hemisphere. So where we see that reversal of slightly offline effect, it's usually the Coriolis effect. So this is something we're paying attention to. The Coriolis effect across a boundary. This turbulence happens when the flow gets up to a certain rate, then we start to get this effect. When it goes past that flow rate, it goes into chaos. It doesn't happen till it gets to at a certain point of flow, and then if it goes past that, there's more energy than can be put into harmonic form, and it goes into chaos. But across those boundaries, if we're coming through a tree line, 40% of our wind will enter the tree line and drop out materials, and 60% will be the rise. That's the same across boundaries. Surfaces across boundaries resist intrusion. There's a resistance. So there are variations of nets and sieves and types of criteria needed by the intruding force. The intruding force has to force its way through the resistance at the edge. And that makes the edge itself a richer environment. In natural systems, there are richer systems in the edge itself. This is where organisms gather, because there are deposition of particles at the boundary, a net, a blockage that slows down the transition of energy, and things settle out, things deposit. That richness creates space-time niches where elements come in and spend time. They often specialize in occupying the edge area. They're open for occupation. This becomes an ecotone. So if we look at two very simple examples of ecosystem, we have a grassland like a savanna or a prairie, and then we have a forest. So here's grassland, here's forest. Two different ecosystems, simply explained, but it doesn't just turn from forest to grassland. There's an assembly of edge species here, and they're a little bit more diverse, a little bit more complex. There's a different soil system here because there are deposits that come in with the wind. As the wind enters the forest, although some lifts, what enters the forest slows down and drops deposits. And here, in this edge system here, this is an ecotone. It's an ecotone of grassland and forest. There are plants here that are producers, but there will be animals that come in here. Animals coming in this way from forest animals, coming to the edge, to the richer system, grassland animals. There will be birds that will fly in, and there may be 10 varieties of bird in the forest and 10 varieties of grassland birds flying into the edge, making 20 birds there. But there could easily be 10 edge specialists that already occupy permanent positions. So they have occupied a permanent niche. They become an edge specialist. The grassland birds take up a time-space niche for a period of time, and the forest birds. So together we end up with 10, 10, 10. We can have 30 species of bird regularly inside a richer ecotone. So this is a diffusion zone in flowing media of life and moving elements, moving media that's, in this case, an example in the wind. But it can be in many, many ways. So there's more events that take place on these boundaries. The edge effect is a very important factor in permaculture, and it's the edges that define the patterns. And we're about patterning. The edge effect is recognised by ecologists. It has a kind of fuzzy zone. It's not clear exactly. But we can extend edge. We can, to our advantage, we can extend that fuzzy zone of ecotone. Traditional people actually did this. Australian Aboriginal people used fire to burn the swamps to forest edge, the grassland to forest edge. And they used mostly a cool fire, which didn't cause too much damage to either ecosystem, but extended a fuzzier edge And plant species that were useful to them as bulbs and root tubers were more prolific on edges. And animals that were consumers of plant species diversity occupied edge for hunting. So they were managers of edge mosaic over great areas. The great advantage of edge effect, understood by traditional people. Landscapes of edge complexity as a mosaic have real productive potential. It's actually real productive landscape as a design art with beneficial function. Harmonic patterns of edge, water, plants and buildings, creating a landscape that's absolutely stimulating to the human eye. This is the beauty of landscape, but it's actually the most efficient production of landscape. This is increased design efficiency landscape by edge effect. And it's all about the diffusion of materials across boundaries. Edges that transfer material as active flow. Compatible or allelopathic edge design. You can design allelopathy into a design to get the allelopathic edge to your advantage. We often use bamboo, which has an allelopathic effect in its leaf fall and its root net, so that you don't get any weed growth down the edge of a bamboo hedgerow or a bamboo trackside planting. Or even if you want an area of storage where complicated recycling might take place on a farm, and you don't want weeds growing through all the complexity of unusual diverse elements you're storing for potential salvage yard, recycle yard. So you don't get any weeds in that area, because you can store along the edge of the bamboo where the leaves and the root net have an allelopathic effect. So you're looking at a growth suppression effect to your advantage. Edges are accumulators, no matter where you look. If you go out through town, you look on the edge of the fence line, garbage piles up there. The edge of the gutter on the road, leaves pile up. All around edges, in every sense, from the micro to the macro, you get accumulations. Because at those edges, you get that beneficial turbulence. You get erosion control. You get shelter. You get diversity of conditions. You get habitat. You get reflections of sunlight quite often, especially water's edge, of course. When we follow the contour of country, we accentuate the potential of edge, because we're coming around to different aspects. We're getting different nutrient flow conditions. And when we're working with mobile elements like animals, they will take advantage of the shaded, the sunny, the windier positions. Traditionally, we live on edge. 80% of humanity still lives near water edges, and also forest edges and river junctions, hills to plains and marshes. We live around those edges. But the modern town planner is totally disconnected from natural systems and designs towns that have no connection to edge potential, because our supply lines are coming from somewhere else, some unrealistic distant land where for some reason we think we can exploit materials. We're not looking at how our settlements need to be positioned where we can manage. We can manage landscape to our advantage. Because there's actually an infinite amount of materials in flow on Earth. And we cannot possibly put in an edge that holds all the materials coming through, because it will collapse under the pressure. We need to just be translators of flow into function, harvesting what we need and allowing surplus to go through and go on to other systems. And that's our position. And that's what we do as designers. We definitely get into edge events.